Over on Netflix, it arrived on Wednesday the 5th of Feb. It is Celebrity Bear Hunt. And here's a clip.
12 celebrities are in the Costa Rican jungle, going head-to-head with the legendary Bear Grylls.
Oh my God.
This is mad.
Born to be wild.
If you're from the hood, you do not do challenges in Costa Rica. Oh my God.
Are we going to do this?
Jump.
I survived prison. I want to compare that to the wild.
How much away from Strictly can you get?
Well, Hannah, I'm sure you've thought from time to time, I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here is so popular and successful, why hasn't anyone copied it? Well, it's kind of happened. This is a new reality show, and as the title hints, it has Bear Grylls, the survival expert, in it. It's set in the Costa Rica jungle, and yes, we've got some celebs who are going to be, as everyone has to be by law these days, taken out of their comfort zone. It's an 8-parter. It's hosted by Holly Willoughby. Yes. So they're kind of living together in a lodge rather than a camp, and they're going to learn survival skills. They're going to take part in a series of challenges. So I've got to say, I mean, usually on I'm a Celebrity, I have no idea who anyone is. However, on this, lots of people that I'm looking forward to seeing. So Lawrence Llewellyn-Bowen, the interior designer. Lottie Moss, Kate Moss's sister, as I'm sure she hates being called. Rugby player Danny Cipriani. You have Boris Becker, the former Wimbledon champion who has been to prison, as he reminds us. You got Una Healy from the Saturdays, Joe Thomas from the Inbetweeners, Big Zoo, I love Big Zoo from Big Zoo's Big Eats, Mel B, the Spice Girl, lovely Steph McGovern, yes, and of course Shirley Ballast, as I call her, the Strictly Come Dancing judge. So I think it's a very good lineup, but I started watching episode 1, and of course, as he always does, Bear has to jump out of a helicopter at the start. I didn't think it was very good, what I saw. Initially, they have to get to the lodge. Oh, and at the lodge, there's something called the Bear Pit, and this is where it's much more like I'm a Celeb, which is kind of like a giant escape room full of animals, creatures, creepy crawlies, which is almost like a punishment that you have to go into there if you failed at something else. So when it starts, they've got to get to the camp, or whatever you want to call it, they've got various options. They can go by boat, they can go by jeep, they can go by helicopter. And all it seemed to be, and the idea is that, Bear is trying to kind of hunt them down, catch them. And all it seemed to be happening was that one of them would be wandering down a track, and then Bear would run out from behind a bush and say, "I've got you." And it was like a sort of game of Celebrity It. So I thought that I didn't go any further, to be honest. I thought it was so woeful. However, I do like the celebrity lineup. It didn't pull me in fast enough, and so I haven't seen any of the stuff in the lodge. I haven't seen the Bear Pit, but I will say I do like the lineup. That's as far as I'm prepared to go at the moment. Is this? I don't actually. Also, I kind of stopped watching I'm a Celeb quite a few years ago. Not that I don't think it's good. It's just kind of come to the end of it, really, for me. Anyway, I'll stop rambling on. Was this for you, Hannah?
Well, as you say, it's quite a good lineup, and I always kind of rate the lineup on these shows because, although having said that, Strictly's kind of is really the exception to the rule because it doesn't really matter because the kind of the format works. But with something like this, it really does depend because they're being pushed. They're in a relatively hostile environment. I know, like you say, there's some sort of ridiculous stuff, but the Bear Pit is pretty hostile. It's pretty scary. It's pushing people out of their comfort zones. And with something like this, I think you need, as a producer, will be thinking, you know what, I need characters that are going to play up and cause a bit of a scene. And of course, they have got some strong characters in there. And I think that, they have made a few headlines in the last few weeks for exactly that. Some of the kind of loss of tempers, I think I've read. And so I think that, it's kind of what's going on around it and the hype around it that, is probably as important to this show as anything else. I mean, obviously, Holly Willoughby, this is her first outing for a while, isn't it? Well, it's not actually Dancing on Ices, but in this sense, the last thing we saw her was the kind of Wim Hof Extreme type show, and I don't know how I feel about her in roles like this. I always think of her in that This Morning sort of fluffy sort of spot, but she's okay in the role, but I always think it's funny how she kind of will go off and swan off into her nice, comfy, her comfy lodge, whereas everyone else isn't quite in the same boat. So I think there's a lot of hype to this, and I think arguably from what I've seen of it so far, it doesn't quite live up to that, but it has all the ingredients to do so.
I have 3 more things to say about this. A, given previous scandals and rumours, where is Bear Grylls staying during the filming of this show? That's number 1. Number 2, was it Shirley Ballas who lost her temper? That's just a guess. It's quite interesting because she bonds with Big Zoo because they're both from council estates, which was quite nice. Unlikely pairing there. And 3, always on these shows, people have to make up a reason why they're doing it. Like, I want to find out who I really am, or blah, blah, blah. But what I loved it was when I interviewed Gregor Fisher about his last series, and I said, when did you sign up for this? He said, my accountant told me I needed the money, which I think is much more honest.